What's up, guys? It's Captain Cook. Welcome back to Spicy Memories, episode 11, the podcast where we talk about food and stuff. Today, I am joined by a very, very, very old friend of mine, someone I have known since grade school, literally. Maybe the upper grades in grade school, but definitely grade school. You know. And Danielle Costa from Back to Basic Podcast. How you doing, Danielle?
I'm good, Chris. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the other side of the mic.
On the other side of the mic.
Yes.
I was on Danielle's podcast, Back to Basic, which I'm going to mention about 50 times, so you guys should totally go check it out. Back to Basic, it's on Spotify, right? Apple, all that stuff, right?
Okay. All the good places.
All the good places, yeah. Basically where this streams to, except yours is far better. You have an intro. It's structured. It sounds better. So if you guys have the opportunity, by all means, go check out Danielle's podcast, specifically one with a guest called Chris, aka Captain Cook. That's a really good episode. So you should totally check that one out.
Oh, yeah.
That guy is going places, let me tell you.
Oh, I think so.
But yeah, so how is everything? All right, so give people a little intro, tell them who you are, what you do, stuff like that.
Do my thing.
Do your thing.
So I am Danielle, like Chris said. I am a podcaster. I'm a radio host. I also work in marketing. That is my day job. Basically just love audio, I guess, love media. I am a Westchester County girl, born and raised. Like Chris said, we went to middle school, high school together, did all the things. And I know my podcast is Back to Basic, and I guess there's a little play on who I am. I'm a little bit basic, but I like to say that I'm like basic adjacent. I got that from my friend Christian, shout out.
Nice.
I love all things pop culture, and I think that's why I love the microphone, and that's why I'm so excited to like talk to you, because I just love talking about things. So yeah, it's a really bad elevator speech. I'm not the best at talking about myself, but for a podcaster, I'm not the best at talking about myself, but that's what I do. I talk. That's the best way to say it.
Which is good, because that leads me into my first kind of like prompt here. So like so you started in radio like a while ago, right? You've been working in radio for how many years now?
Professionally, probably about 6 years, but I've been dabbling on and off in radio since college.
Which is no offense, but like 10 years.
Oh God,
right?
Don't remind me.
I know.
Yeah.
I hate to bring up how old you were getting, but yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
Danielle and I are actually 45 years old, and we are aging extremely well for 45, I would say.
That is not even funny.
But yeah, so what actually wanted to get you, like what made you want to get behind the microphone? Like what made you say like, I want to be in like media, I want to be in radio, I want to be in like communications and stuff, and have my voice echoed across tens of thousands of people's speakers?
Well, I think it's because, you knew me in middle school and high school, and
I did.
I don't know. I wasn't really a, what's the nice way to put it? What's the nice way to say it about Danielle at 16? I'm not going to finish
this sentence.
I know you're not. I wasn't exactly like popular, and I didn't find my voice, I guess is the best way to say it. Like I was kind of trying to figure out who I was. And I think that a lot of us obviously do, but, ironically, this is something you will remember. In our high school, they had a senior internship program.
Yeah. Wise. It was
Wise. So I, again, at this point, didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. And I picked being a teacher. Like I was like, I like kids. Everyone thinks I'm going to be a teacher. My dad was a teacher. Like it just seemed like I don't know what I want to do with my life, so I'm going to be a teacher. And shout out to all of my amazing teacher friends, because it is a very hard job. And immediately I was like, I can't do this every day. Like it's fun when it is, but then it's hard, and my heart wasn't in it as much as I thought it would be. So there was, and it still is there, but there's a local radio station in New Rochelle called WVOX.
Yes.
You remember that one?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. The one on that little side road, right?
Yes.
I used to drive by it. I used to live on the border there near Larchmont. I drove by it every day.
Yeah. So a few kids that we graduated with interned there.
Right.
And I got invited one day after school to come just to see them interning. And the producer there wanted a bunch of us to go on air. And he was like, I want to talk to you guys. Like, you're seniors in high school. You're about to graduate. Like, you're going to college. Like, I want to just talk to you guys. And immediately I was like, no. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's not happening. and they pushed us. And so they gave us like the official headphones, and we sat in the studio. And I honestly was just like, I left that place, and I'll never forget. I had the conversation with my cousin in the car, and I said, I need to do that. Like, I don't know what that means, but I need to do that. And then changed my major and went into communications. And then in college, I had a radio show. I immediately went to, like the club sign up things, and I immediately went to the radio station, had a show for 4 years, worked my way up there to being the general manager of the station, and then got my first taste of professional radio when I interned at Z100 in New York. So that just kind of cemented it for me. And I think to go back, that's like the story of how it started, but like to bring it back to why, I think, and I obviously like know this now, like, digging really deep and philosophical and stuff, but it helped me find my voice. It helped me to feel like I could speak and like tell my story while also like, I liked the aspect of hearing other people's stories, and like I liked that communication aspect that I felt like I was missing. And then I love it. It's very hard to explain. I mean, as a podcaster, I'm sure you kind of get it a little bit now. Like it's very intoxicating to have the microphone in front of you.
It is, yeah.
And live radio is just a whole other
like,
beast.
You need to have metaphorical testicles the size of mountains to do that, because I would never. I'm sorry. I give you so much credit for doing that.
Thank you.
Because I stutter on a good day when I'm calm and collected sometimes. I can't even imagine, like, if I had to do a live show. No, absolutely not. Like, you
could do it. I think you could do it. You get used to it. It's, I mean, my first time live was very, like, terrifying because I had been live in college. And then I got a shot when I was interning to be live on Z100, that was a whole new kind of terror.
We're going to talk about that after, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So.
And then I hadn't been behind the mic for a few years after college because I was like working in other areas of media, and I was a producer. And so I was like behind the scenes. And then I had like a shot to be back live, and I'll never forget. My heart was racing and it was terrifying, but it's a thing that it's a good fear because you kind of get over it. And also, I think that I don't know, the nerves of being live, and I'm sure as a musician, like you can feel that, it forces you into a different place. It forces you.
It's working well under pressure, and it like adrenaline a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. And it's, even now, like radio has also taught me, in addition to finding my voice and being able to speak up, it's also taught me to roll with the punches. Right. In life, and not even just in radio, but just in life, because
basically, yeah, like shit happens all the time.
Yeah,
you just kind of have to you have to go through it. You can't just if you messed up on live radio, you can't just walk away from the mic. I mean, you could, but you would probably not work in live radio.
Oh, so. Trust me, there have been stories, okay, of like me freaking out on air, and you have to keep going, and it really makes you look at life, and you're like, okay, well, shit is gonna happen. Like, life is not perfect. What are you going to do? Are you going to just roll over, or are you going to finish your thought, play the next song, and just keep going?
Yeah.
And
no matter what you do, the next day is always going to come. So like,
exactly.
you're going to have to wake up no matter what,
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean that's a very, very good way to look at it. Cause a lot of people just would completely get scared off the entire experience,
Yeah.
And
it's fun. I think you would like it. I really do. I think as a musician, as a podcaster now, I think that you would probably love it more than you think.
I haven't been like a musician in many, many years, but it was weird though, when I was like a musician, and I don't know how you are when you're on live radio or like your podcast. Cause like you were one of my, by the way, I have to mention this. I mentioned this on my podcast. I mentioned on yours. Aside from knowing you in high school, you were one of my first OG testers of my hot sauce.
That's right.
Back in the day, because I did like a small giveaway when I was still adjusting the recipe. Not even when first you tasted it before it was even approved by Cornell. So, kudos
how
to
hipster
you.
Of me.
I know, right? My God, you can literally say I did it before it was cool. But so, and then in person you seem like you're the same kind of genuine personality the whole time. Whereas when I was like a musician and I was under that pressure, I was completely different on stage. I was jumping around. I was like a lunatic, and I would say these weird things, and I was singing these songs with like vulgar lyrics in some cases, and I was just like, I was a totally different person. And it's kind of like when I don't know if you've seen, but like when I go live on like Captain Cook on my page or anything like that, I just kind of let like an idiot. I turn the filter off and the thoughts just go from the back of my head out of my freaking mouth. And that can sometimes be pretty good. It could also be like me playing it back and being like, fucking yikes. Like I should not have said that. So
Yeah.
it's hard to do that process simultaneously and just kind of, like you said, roll with the punches. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested, like, because you fell into this after kind of being forced into an experience, not forced into an experience, but like
Yeah.
you were
No.
kind of pushed on air, and that kind of like brought you over that little bump, which
Yep.
is cool because it was outside of school technically.
Yep.
Like it
Technically.
wasn't part of your major, I guess I should say. And it wasn't part of your major. And a lot of people, myself included, don't figure out, if they do go to college, they don't figure out exactly necessarily what they want to do until they've been taking courses and been there a while. Like for me, I didn't figure out what I wanted to do until I was at my second school. And because eventually I got a degree in film from Purchase,
Mm-hmm.
but I started when we graduated in 2009. I was convinced, I'm like, I'm gonna go into journalism. Like I took journalism courses at Eastchester, and then I was going into like a journalism program. I wanted to just start doing journalism class, blah, 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 whatever. And then I started doing it. I was like, I fuck it. Like, I hate this so much. And then I transferred to WCC. I just took like basic requirements for a few semesters. And then I remember in my rebel days still, I needed to choose an elective. And I looked at
Mm-hmm.
the advisor and I'm like, I don't care. She's like, well, you have to choose one. And I'm like, no, you choose one. And I walked out of the office like an asshole.
Stop.
Yeah. And she chose film 101, and she chose a 101 film class. And I took that class. And after like 2 weeks, I just said, this is all I want to study. Because I had already loved film. I had done a couple films senior year in the film festival we
Mm-hmm.
had.
Yep.
I'd been a huge movie buff already for years. And now I was getting like a psychoanalytic approach to it. Because my thesis that I eventually ended up writing for college was like a psychoanalytic approach to what happens to our brain while we actually watch cinema, and like
Ooh.
how it affects like memories and emotions. Well, that'll be a whole other, that's like a,
Oh, you need to do a podcast episode on that. I want to listen to
I don't
that.
know if I can reach into those feelings again.
Oh
But
no.
anyway, my point was, like, I had to go through a lot of courses and like, just like mild depression and like not knowing what I wanted to kind of land in an avenue of what I wanted to study. You kind of did it outside and were able to jump in starting your major, right? And
Yeah.
Iona? No,
Mm-hmm.
Iona, right?
Iona.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
That was off the top of my head. I didn't even
Yeah,
write
that
that
was
down.
good.
I didn't even research that.
Sometimes I forget.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
good.
People literally ask, like, where'd you graduate from? I'm like, it's just like, it takes me like a
50
second.
years ago.
I'm like,
I
yeah.
don't know. Let me look at my yearbook.
Which, so, and you work in radio, you do all the stuff. Before I go to back to basic and touch upon that,
Yeah.
tell me about Z100. Tell me about how you ended up getting the internship. Tell me about what it was like.
Yeah.
Elvis Duran, if you ended up meeting people in the cast. Because I used to, circa 2012, that was like my morning shit. Like,
Yep.
every morning I would hear Froggy, I would hear Frat Boy, like Greg T. Frat, like everything. Like, I loved that stuff. And it was like,
Yeah.
I eventually kind of like moved on to other stuff. But what was it? I mean, I don't know if that overlapped with when you were interning there. It might have.
It did. 2012.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It did.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
So similar to you, I grew up listening to Z100. I think we probably all did because we're in New York, and that's the number one station in New York. When I got into radio, I always, really listened more to Elvis Duran, especially like in the mornings. I would like listen to it before class, and I really started to like learn about that. So I kind of basically, like, when I was a junior in college, our professors were like, you guys need internships. You're going into a very hard industry. It's media, it's competitive. You need experience. So I think I was first semester junior, actually around this time. It was in November. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start applying because I know that I want to be in this very competitive field. And I know that I have learned stuff in class and from being on the radio in college, but I need to learn more because it's one of those things that you don't know it until you do it. And it's a real life experience kind of thing. And I think it's really important for most people to try those things because you may say, like you said, like, I want to be a journalism major. And then you do it and you're like, oh, I don't want to. So
Yeah.
I, first semester junior year was like, I need to apply for internships next semester. So I'll never forget, the first thing I did was pull up, the Elvis Duran website and tried to look for it because I knew that I had heard on the radio that they were hiring for the next semester. And I saw the email. It was, I think at the time it was like interns@elvisduran.com or something like that. And it said, send your resume, send a cover letter. Tell us why you want this internship. So I was sitting on the couch and I was just like, I wrote this cover letter at this time. I don't think you ever really learn how to write a cover letter, but at the time it was like my first cover letter. I had no idea what I was doing. And I wrote this cover letter that basically, you know, I followed the format that our teachers told us to, but then I had this whole paragraph about how I grew up on Elvis Duran. Like, that's the reason why I love radio. Like, and I just would love to be a part of it and learn from who I consider some of the best in the industry. And it was like this really sappy letter that I think I still have somewhere. And I think like within a couple days, I got a call.
Oof.
And it was on my old BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the old BlackBerry.
BBM, man.
Yes. Oh my God. And the reason I remember is because I got the call and it just had like the caller ID just said 100 or like, 100 or something. And I didn't answer it because like I don't answer numbers I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's weird. And they left a message. And I answered you don't answer a voicemail. You check the voicemail. I checked the voicemail and it was whoever it was at the time leaving a voicemail saying like, this is so-and-so from Elvis Duran. Like, we want to set up an interview. And I like literally dropped my phone and I started crying because I was like, what just happened? Like, even if I don't get any further than this, that was the coolest thing that has ever happened to me. So I went into the city. It was like a legit, it's a job interview. Like, it's an intern interview. I went to the city. I like totally dressed up, like black suit kind of thing, because it was my first job interview like that. And I was told in college, I'm sure you were too, you always dress up and you do the suit and you do like clear nail polish and like straight hair. And you just like, you have to be professional. And I went down, my brother came with me. Shout out to Paul. He came with me because I didn't know where I was going. So he just like came for the day with me. It was right before Thanksgiving break. And I went in and I was surrounded by all these people. And I was just like, oh my God, like I can't do that. I can't do this. And David Brody.
Yeah.
Shout out David Brody. He came out and he interviewed me. He's the one who, I don't know if he still does it, but at the time he handled a lot of the interns.
Okay.
So he came out and he interviewed me. And it was a very chill interview. Like, he asked a lot of like legit questions that I was like, oh my God, this is my first interview. I think what kind of got me is we started talking about Star Wars. This is I'm going on a tangent. Tell me if I should stop.
No, this is why I have this freaking podcast.
I'm just like, you're like, how did you get started? I'm like, well, let me tell you.
This is what I want. You kidding me? I get to sit back and listen. This is why I got a podcast.
And I love this. Okay. So we talked about Star Wars and he asked me, how do you watch Star Wars? Like, how do you watch the series? Are you a Star Wars fan?
I am, yeah.
Okay. So he asked, how do you watch?
Meaning, like do you do it in chronological order? Like, watch the shittier ones from the early 2000s and then the better ones?
Yes. He goes, do you watch episode 1 through, I think at the time.
Or do you do it chronologically by year to see the developments of the
And I said, well, you watch it from the originals first, and then you watch the newer ones.
Yes.
And I said, you watch like 4, 5, 6, whatever. And he just went,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were talking for a few more minutes, and then he just like put his hand out and he was like, welcome aboard. And I just went, I was like, what? And I literally, I'll never forget these things because I remember how it was like my first experience with a job too.
Yeah.
And I put my hand out to grab his hand because he put his hand out and I pulled my hand back and I went, what? And he was like, I don't really do this that much, but welcome aboard. And I guess he just meant like doing it right in that moment. And I was like, okay, yes. He's like, are you saying no? I'm like, no. I was saying yes. And so like we shook our hands. We had I love him. I still talk to him. He's so great. But, and we walked out and he goes, by the way, love the outfit, but like, we're pretty casual here. So you don't need to dress in a suit. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm sorry. He goes, no. I love that you dressed up, but it's radio. And I was like, okay. And, that's how it started there. It was great. It honestly, to this day, is probably one of the best experiences and jobs of my life.
Those kinds of experiences are like once in a lifetime. That's why you apply for those kinds of internships, because it's like,
exactly.
You're never going to be able to do that again. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you did intern once, they're not going to hire you as an intern again. They're going to like get your blood. So I can imagine that was And I'm assuming you
It
met
was great.
Elvis. At one of
Yeah,
those
we
occasions.
worked with Elvis. At the time it was Carolina was there, and like TJ. Do you remember
Okay.
TJ?
Yeah.
Greg T was there.
Correct. T.
We worked with all of them. They were all super sweet, super great. They really take the time to teach their interns.
Danielle was probably still there at that point, right?
Danielle was there.
Yeah.
Carla Marie.
Carla Marie. Yeah,
She
yeah. I
was
still follow
actually like
Carla
our,
Marie on social media.
yeah,
Yeah,
me
yeah.
too. I love her. She was like our supervisor. So we
Okay.
worked very directly with her as well. It was really hands-on, and it really, like, honestly, I say this all the time. It cemented my love for it so much because I was just like, I want to do this all the time. And they really took the time to like make us do hands-on stuff, like hands-on editing. And
Like it was an actually useful internship, not like you just going to get fucking coffee all the time. Basically.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, we did get coffee, don't get me wrong. Like one
Right.
time I had to go get, do you remember Psy, Gangnam Style?
Yeah.
I had to go get his coffee.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am. And like it
Did
was
you
him
hand
and
it
his
to him like
entourage.
this?
Yeah, I should have. It was him and his entourage, and we had to like go. He was at a different radio station by the time
Yeah.
we got all the coffee, and we walked in, and he was just sitting there with his sunglasses on, like really chill. And I was like, "This is the coolest moment of my life! Like, I'm getting Gangnam Style's Frappuccino. Like, who am I?
Insane.
Yeah." We did typical intern stuff, but we learned a lot. Like, I learned
that's
audio
what's
editing
important.
and
Yeah, that's what's important. Is that
yeah,
like, how'd you do hands-on stuff? Because so many
yeah,
times internships at these places, it's just so people could put on their resume that they interned and they know that. So they just make you do kind of like runner, go for useless
yeah,
bullshit. But obviously you're going to have to get people coffee if you're an intern, you're going to have to do the task that nobody
yeah,
wants
of
to.
course.
But if they can sprinkle in you actually getting experience and learning, that's the ideal situation. That's what you want. The fear of not having that is why so many people don't apply for internships.
Yeah.
Because it often does not happen like that. Often you go into these places and they're just like, go get me coffee and go get my laundry and you need to go get us lunch. And then like, well, what do you want me to do? Well, I don't know. Wait there until I tell you what to do. And it's
100%.
like, and they don't actually have you do hands-on stuff, which sucks. I mean, nobody wants to do that.
Who wants to do that? No.
Because
yeah,
even if you can put on your resume, if you get put in a situation later on where you're expected to have some experience in this stuff
and you don't, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, they're like, well, did you intern at that place? Like, doesn't
yeah, that's why it was one of the best experiences, because it was like the typical intern stuff. But like, I mean, one of the jobs, I don't know if it's still this way, obviously, because like I'm old and it was a while ago. But one of the jobs for the interns then was to be like part of the phone screeners.
Okay.
So we would help the phone producer, who at the time was Carla Marie, answer the phones. And like, if you listen to Elvis Duran, a lot of that is like a lot of listener interaction, like funny phone calls and conversations.
Yeah. I've called before a few times. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I answered you. Who knows?
You might have. I got through once. I don't even remember what it was for. It was in the morning. I got through once, and I don't even remember what I asked.
But yeah, I mean, so we did that kind of stuff. We learned, like, it also helped us learn what was like really good on air stuff, like what was funny and what was engaging. And listener attention span is quick. Like, you're in the car, you're listening to snippets, you're commuting, you have to capture the listener's attention.
Right.
And especially for like a show like Elvis Duran, like, you're really hitting people in those like peak hours where they're preoccupied with getting to work on time. They're getting their coffee, they're bringing their kids to school. So,
and people are listening usually, because they were on at the time, and they still are on at a time where you're in your car. Like, you're not, it's not just something you have on in the background. Like, it starts when people are commuting and you have nothing else to do except not crash your car. And so you literally just listen. That's it.
Yeah.
And
well, it's morning drive. That's what it's literally called. It's called morning drive. So like, it's one of the most on most radio stations. It's one of the most popular time slots. But yeah, I mean, it was great, and it cemented my love for it. I did it that spring semester, and then I was asked back for the fall semester. So I kind of did it for like a whole year. And it was great. I mean, I met so many amazing people. I learned from like some of the best people in the industry, and they're still so great. And it was great because, you got to work with them. Like, I got to actually like talk to Elvis Duran. And like, one time I showed up and I had this outfit on, and I brought him something in the studio, and he just went, "By the way, Danielle, like, you look so great today. Like, you're doing so great." And I was like, "Oh my God, Elvis Duran said I look great. This is the best day." Like, so it was just like, they gave us confidence, I think.
I think what people don't realize is basic human decency like that, where you don't treat the interns like complete shit.
Yes.
And where you make people realize that even if they are doing, a small, minute detail of a job, that it's still valued. And
Yes.
him even just like, noticing and remembering your name, remembering your fucking name. He could have just said, thanks, Danielle. And
I
that's
know.
it. And you probably would have been like, he knows my name. That's amazing.
Oh,
And like
100%.
small human decency like that in those places, they don't realize goes a long way. So when interns get treated like shit, it kind of bothers me because it's like you're
Me too.
taking somebody who could be a huge asset in this industry one day and probably crushing their hope.
Yes.
Because they're like, I don't want to turn into this asshole,
Exactly.
It's like,
And it's also just, it goes back to like the kindness element, and like, just because you're someone's boss doesn't mean you need to treat them like they are less than.
Exactly.
And like,
right.
and it's also like if you're an intern, you're not all the time, but if you're an intern, a lot of the times you're young, you're fresh in the game, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And like, that's a formative time for someone's career. And you could totally crush them from even wanting to move forward. Like you could totally just ruin their lives, essentially.
Right.
Like if someone said to me like, oh, you suck, who knows what I would be doing right now? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's just, it was great and it was fun. And there were definitely some moments that were just hilarious. And it's so funny that you vividly remember things like that.
I know. Well, things like that stick in your mind,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It really does.
And so, all right. So before I continue on, that is insane.
Sorry, I went on like a little tangent, but
no.
You asked me how I got started. I was like, oh, this is a great story.
You could probably, honestly, you should consider doing an entire episode of Back to Basic about people who want to get into radio, people who want to get into podcasting, and talk about experiences like that. Talk about if you're going to do an internship, what is expected of you at big places like that. Talk about if you're going to start college, like make a podcast for future radio people and podcasters.
Get back to the basics of the radio industry.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm
going to use that. I'll credit you in the show notes.
You better.
I will.
So, all right, before we move on, there was something that stuck in my mind that I have to ask. You're a Star Wars fan. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you watch The Mandalorian?
I haven't.
Yikes.
Yet.
Dude.
I know.
Oh, all right. All right. I won't lie. If you're a classic Star Wars fan, I don't know whether or not you're going to like The Mandalorian, but it is created and put out there by Jon Favreau, which is never a bad thing.
I love Jon Favreau. Yeah.
From everything. I mean, the thing that got me into him a lot, believe it or not, was not Swingers or anything like that. It was Chef. I don't remember the movie Chef, where he's Carl Casper. He's a chef, and he like gets a food truck after he gets fired from his restaurant job.
It sounds familiar. I have to look it up.
It's streaming somewhere.
Okay.
He wrote, directed, and starred in the movie. All right.
Wow.
And he is just, it's brilliant. It's what got me to start cooking more. I'm not even kidding.
Stop. Are you serious?
No. And he has a giant chef knife tattoo on his arm. So like,
that's
I love
amazing.
this, but the reason that I kind of got this was to always remind me of why, I always looked at that tattoo and I'm like, that's so fucking boss. Like, I just love that.
That's awesome.
I mean, granted, in the movie, his goes from like here to like there, but
still,
but
don't diminish it. It's still cool.
I just got a new tattoo too. But,
did you?
Yeah.
What is
it's for these people listening, you're enjoying this.
Yeah.
This is baguettes that my friend drew for me.
Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah. Oh wow. The detail's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So did you people on the radio like that? All right. Because I'm recording the video, but they don't know that. See, look what I'm doing with my hands. Anyway.
How many fingers am I holding?
Yeah, exactly. No, all right. So first of all, watch The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I need to.
I have to start season 2, but season 1, I was so reluctant because I've been a love-hate Star Wars fan. I loved the early Star Wars episodes from back in the 70s because I was a kid and I fell in love. And then the episode 1 that came out, it wasn't like complete trash when I was a kid. And then as I got older, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I kind of like
usually how it goes.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Mando came out, and I was like, maybe I should just give it a try. And it is just so fucking good. Aside from the fact that Baby Yoda is just amazing.
I do love Baby Yoda.
It is just so good. So you absolutely have to watch that. Now, I want to transition. Before I talk about Back to Basic, you know what? No, we'll briefly touch on Back to Basic.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go into like some food questions if that's cool.
Ooh, I love that.
Kind of promise people I would talk about food at some point.
Food and stuff.
It's food and stuff. This is heavy on the stuff. This episode. And people listening should know by now, I'm not here cooking with you. It's not about that. It's just about having like-minded people on. I've had an artist on a couple episodes.
Yeah.
She has nothing to do with food. She and I did a collab together, but she paints. Like, she has nothing to do with whatever. So whatever. Fuck it. It's my show. I could do what I want. Anyway.
There it is.
Whatever. Nobody can tell me what to do. All right. So Back to Basic. How did you?
Yeah.
I know you've done 10. No.
I just posted my 17th episode.
17. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. My God. And that has not been long of a time. You started in
July.
Yeah, I was going to say in the summer.
Yeah.
That's
like,
in
the summer.
Because you do. All right. So for everyone listening, it's every Wednesday, right?
Yep. Every Wednesdays we podcast.
Every Wednesday, there's a new podcast, Spotify, Apple, Back to Basic. Check it out.
Yes.
And anyway, so how did you like? I know obviously you love all things. You love analyzing things basic. But
Yes, of course.
why that? Like, what made you actually want to start? Like, what gave you enough inspiration for you to be like, I have to make a podcast about this, and not just like, oh, this is something I like.
Yeah. So basically at this point, a couple of years ago, I had a local radio show in Greenwich on a local station. It was like called the Danielle Costa Show because I'm super original. And it was interviewing like local artists, musicians, actors, business owners. And then there was it was a very heavy emphasis on pop culture. And at the time I would like always joke because I love a pumpkin spice latte. So I'd always joke and call myself basic. And it just kind of became this joking part of my identity that was also kind of true.
Yeah.
That I kind of owned. And I was like, well, why is that a bad thing? Like,
Yeah,
why
exactly.
is
like
it
at first
always
you
a
laugh
bad
about
thing?
it. At first you
Yeah.
laugh about it, like, no, but then it's
Exactly.
like, but then you're like, oh, whatever. This is who I am.
Exactly. And I was like, it's not really a bad thing. And the more I talk to people, the more I realize, well, we all kind of have that a little bit. And then it kind of turned into, well, maybe not all of us are basic, but we all have similarities and we all are like striving to live, our best lives and, maybe find our passions or pursue our passions or whatever it may be. So, when my radio show ended, just due to, radio industry stuff, and I was like, I need to turn this into a podcast. Like, I really want to keep doing this, but I want to build it out a little bit more. Obviously, as you know, there's things that you can say and you can't say on the radio.
Yeah, on the radio. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why people got podcasts because like I'm sick of having to like think about sentences. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like, okay, and I can like own this. I can do what I want with this. Like this could be my thing. And not gonna lie, I talk about it in my podcast. It took a while to get there because it's a scary thing. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's a scary thing to be like, I'm gonna now put myself out there in this way and own this thing and build this thing. And I have no one else helping me. Like it's a lot. Yeah. So it took me a while. I also, at the time, like there was a time frame in between there where I was working like 4 jobs at once.
Jesus Christ.
And I just like didn't have the mental energy for it. And, finally I was like, I need to do this. I need to do this. And I sometimes suffer from FOMO, like social media comparison. I think a lot of us do.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing people like doing all these amazing things and like they're incredible. And I'm like, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that?
Right.
It took quarantine, obviously, for me to push myself to do it.
Right.
But basically, pun intended, it was a way for me to kind of, I like to sometimes refer to it as like my podcast blog. Like it's like, I'm sure for you too, like the things that are in your head that you want people to hear.
Oh yeah.
And then it was like, but I also want to talk to people because that's so much of what I love about radio. It's the communication and the connection and the storytelling. So I was like, why don't I talk to people who are doing all these amazing things that I kept seeing on social media that I'm like, oh, they're so cool. Like, that's amazing. Why don't I talk to them about what they do and then find our commonalities, whether that is in the basic aspects of things, like, or if that's just in us sitting here, bullshitting and we're just like having a good conversation and it's just like, oh, like, okay, like we're on the same level. Like we're different, but let's celebrate that difference. But also we share a lot of the same things too. So
I think overcoming
kind of how it got started.
Well, that like FOMO aspect that you were talking about, I think overcoming that and not comparing yourself. Like I just put out a blog because I have a blog as well that I write about like food, and it's gotten more it's gotten very wordy, because I did creative writing for many, many years, and now I'm kind of going, like, I've been listening to a lot of Anthony Bourdain and reading a lot of his books. So I just got I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to say whatever I want. And in the last blog I did, I kind of had this whole section at the end about, which is true, I used to really, really worry about how I looked on social media compared to real like professional chefs, because I follow a lot of them and some of them local ones follow me, like, and we talk, I knew a few of them personally from restaurants in New Rochelle and like Larchmont. And so I was thinking like, oh my God, like I would, in the back of my mind, sometimes I'd post something stupid that I made or something simple and I'd be like, they're going to fucking see that. Like what, and I think you have to understand that true brilliance is understanding why something is valuable and understanding why it's amazing and getting almost back to the basic. Like that's literally what I said in there, is getting back to, you know, the very simple fundamental reason as to why you love it, you know.
Yeah.
And like, you need to understand, you know, if you go to a fancy fresh restaurant, you order duck confit, you know, or coq à l'orange, like anything like that, you know, duck à l'orange, anything like that, you have to understand why those ingredients are so good. And more often than not, restaurants that have smaller, less complicated menus tend to be the better ones. Dishes that only have 3 or 4 ingredients tend to be the tastier ones now. It's like, there's a certain beauty in ordinary things and simplicity. And I think when you realize, like, I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to appreciate this for like the bare bone reason of why it is what it is. And whether you discover that in cooking or podcasting or radio, I think it's important to make that distinction for any kind of creative people, because if you're constantly comparing yourself, it's going to be a fucking nightmare. You're just like,
Yeah.
there's no, and like, I get so frustrated sometimes and I have to bring myself out because I'll see something that somebody posts and I'm like, motherfucker. Like, I get like so
Yeah.
angry. I'm
No,
like,
we all do it.
it's like, even when I would watch like videos of people playing guitar, you know, I like, there's this guy I idolize. His name is Tommy Emmanuel. He's like a one-man band with his fingers. His thumb plays bass lines while his other fingers are playing different melodies. It's
Wow.
insane. Yeah. But, and I've always would say to myself when I watch his videos, I could sit in a room for 10 hours a day and practice 10 hours a day and I would never be that good. And that's, again, missing the point of focusing on something for the right reasons, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that you were kind of able to make that distinction and, you know, not kind of let yourself fall into that total FOMO and not let yourself completely be compared and be like, well, you know, this is good, but I know podcasters and they have better podcast. Like, no, it's not what it's about, you know? And I think,
it's about doing it.
Right, exactly.
It's about doing it. Yeah. I mean, it took quarantine for me to finally just get myself to do it, because I am kind of an eternal procrastinator.
Yeah, me too.
It's just
I have like 12 ongoing projects that have just been revolving for like a year. Yeah.
Always. I'm like looking over there at my like needle point that's like half finished. And
like, that was a fun thing in April when I took up knitting.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, I'm always thinking 5 steps ahead, and sometimes I need to bring myself back to the moment. And I think with this podcast in like particular, like I was able to be like, okay, like I want to do this because I enjoy talking to people. Like I enjoy like learning from their story and learning from them. And, you know, the kinds of podcasts I love too are like those great conversations, like the ones where you just feel like your friends are talking and you're just like, oh, I just learned something new, or, oh, you know what? Like I can do that too. And I wanted to give, you know, listeners that and be like, look, these people are doing their thing and like you can too, no matter what that may look like for you.
Right.
And obviously, like, you know, it's basic, quote unquote, in like branding and fun stuff like that. And it's kind of evolving a little bit away so much from like the very heavy basicness.
Yeah.
But like still, like I love pop culture and I love that kind of stuff. So there's still like a lot of emphasis on that as well. And it's kind of like taking the serious, good conversations, like the deep conversations, and kind of adding in like the fun stuff. So it's like a light way of being like, you know, you can get out there and do your thing too. And then also like, let's talk about Ted Bundy. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just fun. I love talking to people. It's why I got into it, as I said earlier. And, you know, having your own podcast, it's a lot of work, but it's fun.
It is. And look, guys, if you're listening if for no other reason for what Danielle just explained, you should listen to her podcast for that, because that's exactly what it is. It's just good conversation between people who genuinely look like they want to speak, which is good. I don't think you would have anyone on who'd be like, I don't know, man, we haven't talked in 20 years. So,
yeah, right.
Like
then don't come on a podcast if you don't want to talk.
Like not to put anyone on blast, but like there's people like from high school that we knew that will never be invited on this podcast. So, like,
I'm staying quiet on that.
Because along with you, I, you know, was not one of the popular ones.
We were in marching band together, so
we were in marching band. Thank you for bringing that up. Fuck, God, I have to relive that. All right,
childhood trauma.
Fucking Donald Olson.
Childhood trauma and a saxophone.
I know. At least I got to play a saxophone. All right, so let's transition now. You are Italian, right, by heritage. As am I. I'm 100% Italian. So you probably grew up with a lot of food, right?
Yes.
Before I ask you how food would tie into a radio job, which I bet you think there wasn't a question, but I fucking found one.
I love it.
Before I go into that, what, like, all right, like hands down best weeknight or like Sunday meal from an Italian mother, grandmother, whatever, that you would take all the time?
Mm,
Like one that
probably.
you would, like if somebody was not Italian, right? You're talking to your freaking, I don't know, Scottish friend, and they've been eating haggis their whole life. They don't know what the hell good food tastes like. You, you give them.
No offense to haggis.
I did not say that. You did. Completely offense to haggis. It's fucking that people even shove that in their mouth. Anyway, like one thing you say to your friend, like if you're gonna have an Italian meal at your friend, Giuseppe's house, go there and eat this. What would it be?
Um, I have to stick with like a good lasagna because personally speaking, like the lasagna in my house, specifically like my grandmother's lasagna,
Oof.
and you're talking like off the boat Sicilian. That was like a special occasion lasagna. Like you got that on Christmas Eve, you got that on Thanksgiving because we're so Italian that we eat pasta on Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those things that is just so good. You get the pasta, you get the gravy, which like if you're not Italian means the sauce, the marinara.
Yeah. Some people call it gravy. Some people, yeah. But
Yeah, we
that's
call
like,
it gravy.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of people call it gravy.
And you have like the cheese, and it's just like it's like basically like a melty pasta cake. Like it's just like it's everything. And I grew up on it. So I feel like I'll always say like a good lasagna because also it's easy to mess up like a lasagna. Yeah. So, you need a good one. You need like a good Italian lasagna. But that was like.
Do you cook at all? Do you cook any like Italian? Do you cook at all? Any Italian or anything like that?
I dabble. I've started to teach myself a little bit more.
Okay.
Ironically, I was doing one of those like meal kit things, like HelloFreshes or whatever.
Yeah, I've done those.
Yeah.
I've done HelloFresh. I've done a few.
Yeah. And it actually has helped me like learn certain techniques of things that I didn't know.
That's why those are good. Those, first of all, if you're any kind of, not just an Italian, but a human, those portions are not enough for two people. I don't care what they say. But that's not why they exist. I mean, yeah, maybe they exist for like, 90-pound people that live in Brooklyn. But but what the real reason that they exist is so that like, we did that once with like a great enchilada recipe, right? And now Brittany, my wife, makes enchiladas all the time, kind of adapted from stuff that she learned and that we made together. And it's also like, if you're doing it with somebody too, it's like a cool experience. Even if you're by yourself, you get to follow along. I did it with Marley Spoon, which is like Martha Stewart combined with them.
Okay, yeah.
I did a dish like that. We did HelloFresh a bunch of times. Like we still to this day make really good, like, we made a bulgogi bowl once, like a Korean.
Oh yes, I've made that one. Yeah.
Oh, God,
it's so good.
So good.
Yes.
But they exist for like techniques like that, it's
100%.
So
it's taught me that stuff. And like I've learned a little bit from family, like learned a little bit from my grandmother. I've helped her make like the lasagna.
Right.
My brother filmed her making the lasagna because we were like, we need to get the recipe.
You need to learn how to make it. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to learn how to make it, and we need the gravy recipe. Like that is like.
And you can't ask an Italian grandmother like amounts because they won't tell you.
No, and in the video, it's hilarious because he's filming it because you remember Paul also did film.
Yeah.
So he like had the legit equipment and he like zooms in because she's making the gravy, and he goes. She throws something in. I don't even remember what it was, sugar maybe or something. And she goes, okay. And he goes, well, how much? And she goes, oh, I'll show you. And she grabs her hand and she goes, look at this much, and puts more in. And I was like, you just put it in. She goes, oh, it's okay. I'm like, so Paul's in the video going, so what's the measurement? And look at this much. And so we're just like, okay, we're just going to have to figure it out. But it's one of those things. So I've kind of learned, I'm trying. I'm trying to, and she kind of wants me to learn more, but it's hard.
So I don't know how you feel about Italian restaurants, like nice Italian restaurants,
Yeah.
What is your, if any, it's hard for us to really, really dedicate ourselves to a good Italian restaurant only because we both cook Italian. My wife makes a better red sauce than I do. And there's pizza dishes that she and I have made that I would take over multiple pizza places that I've had, including the one tonight, which I'll never go to again, but I won't mention their name because there's no reason for that. However, so it's hard when you cook that stuff and and it's in your family. Like, there's no way you would go out and order a lasagna that would be better than the one that you are used to having,
No.
So like, what would be your go-to if you did go to like a nice Italian restaurant? Like, not to play it safe necessarily, but like, I'm not going to take this much of a risk because if these people suck, like, I'm not going to have this meal ruined for me. You know what I mean?
So we actually do have one that we go to a lot, and my grandmother loves it. We've had parties there. Do you know Pizza Beat on Central Avenue.
That's where I met you to give you the
Oh my
hot
God,
sauce.
that is where you met me.
You
Oh
were,
my
I
God.
gave you the bottle of hot sauce and I'm like, where are you? You're like, I'm at Pizza Beat on Central. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah.
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 We love Pizza Beat. We
Really?
just started going like probably at this point, probably like 5 years ago, but we started going and just on a whim, like, oh, let's just go to Pizza Beat. Like we don't know what we want. Let's get pizza, whatever.
Right.
We went and then immediately we were like, ooh, this is good stuff. Like this is like legit Italian food. And then we like took my grandmother and, we started taking everyone else. We had my mother's surprise 65th birthday there. Like,
Nice.
and everyone who came to the party had never been to that restaurant. Everyone was raving about the food. They were like,
sure.
this is like legit Italian. Have you ever had it?
No, I still never been.
You got to go. They
I
have
know.
really, really good food. Their sauce is like so good.
And
that makes or breaks an Italian
I was going to say,
restaurant.
that's what bothers me because we take so much pride in our sauce. Like whether it's the one, like we love the sauces that we can just let cook for 2 hours because they taste way better. But even if it's one that I'm throwing together in 20 minutes after I'm home from work or something like that, even those are pretty damn good. And even like variations of it, not the same recipe every time. And it's hard for us to go to a place like tonight, the shitty pizza that we had, it was the sauce. It was a grandma's pie.
It's always the sauce.
And it was just the fucking sauce was disgusting. And I'm like, yo, and I think people just, they overdo it with the sugar sometimes. And if you do put sugar in your red sauce, which I know that sounds crazy to people listening, but it's actually a big thing in Italian is they use to sweeten it a little bit.
Yeah.
I stopped doing that just because I found we like more kind of like salty and like spicy. So I use more bases of like red chili flakes and garlic a lot in the base,
Okay.
And usually for and anyway, I'm not going to go through the recipe. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the whole thing is the sauce, like you said, is what makes or breaks a place. And it's weird because that's such a basic thing that you would think people could pump out, but it really
can't.
No, it makes or breaks a place.
It makes or breaks it, and it maybe it is also just growing up Italian, and there's such a so much pride and emphasis on like the gravy. And
I
mean, like
people
really
listening to us right now, like you dicks, like nobody cares about sauce.
Oh yeah, right. Well, my favorite is when I was, I think I was in college and I used to work at an assisted living home, and I must have just said gravy, referring to my grandmother's red sauce.
Oh, no.
And one of the nurses was like, ew, you put gravy on your pasta? And I was like, no, I put gravy on my macaroni. What are you talking about? And he's like, what? And then like a bunch of the other nurses were like, no, she's Italian. Like they call gravy red sauce. And he was like, what? I've never heard this. And I was like, yeah, it's true. But yeah, the red sauce, the marinara, whatever you want to call it, makes or breaks it. I mean, my grandmother's sauce is like legendary, and I swear we could just like drink it. Like it's that good that you're just like, I could just sit here and just like drink a mason jar full of your sauce.
Absolutely.
Like, so good.
What I started doing, which my parents didn't do a lot, is in the base of the sauce, right? If I have time, I usually do like half of a small onion. I do garlic, I do red chili flakes and oil, and then I put in the tomato paste. Once the tomato paste kind of gets thick, I put in like about a half a cup of red wine, and I cook out the alcohol and do red wine in the base. After that, I put in the sauce. It is like life-changing. And whatever wine whatever wine you use in the base, pair that with the pasta, and that's what you drink. Fucking perfect, amazing. But yeah.
Ooh, okay. When I start to make my own sauce, I will let you know, and I'll try.
I'm telling you, yeah, absolutely.
Really
I should start doing live cook-alongs. That would be interesting.
You should actually. That would be so cool.
Have like a live cook-along where you have to my old boss, a friend of mine, texted me and came up with this idea. And at first I was like, I don't know if I could do that. And then I was thinking about it. He goes, what if it was like, you got, you told the people what ingredients to get during the day. They film themselves getting the ingredients, and then you cook together live later. I'm like, yeah, that could actually be kind of cool. But okay, so we covered that. Now, tying food back into radio. This may sound strange, but and I don't mean this as far as like watching your weight. I mean it more as digestion, and you'll understand why. Did you have to watch what you eat while you're on radio because you can't be chugging seltzer and eating potato chips all day if it's going to make you gassy and burpy in front of a microphone? Or maybe you just have an indestructible stomach and you can. I don't know. But one, does it?
I do not.
Okay. One, does it affect stuff like that? And two, were you just like drinking a bunch of coffee and water because you're like, I can't afford to have like middle of a podcast and do that, like where you're talking through a burp, in the middle of like a show.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I think it may affect you in a different way.
Okay.
And I think it would basically, you can't drink too much water because like you need to go to the bathroom at specific times.
Okay.
So like, as far as like food goes, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Like it doesn't really matter, at least for me specifically. I mean, I don't know about other people, but, like I usually do drink like a lot of coffee and a lot of water. And usually I'm always standing, actually, which not everyone does, but I stand up when I'm live
smart.
because
that's smart, actually, though.
Yeah. So I stand up, and it also gives me a different energy when I'm standing up. And I'm Italian. We just said I talk with my hands, so it gives me a whole thing. Yeah.
You do like the point, it's like.
Yep. Oh, I point to no. I once, side note, I had someone walk in once on me doing a break, and I must have gestured to an imaginary person, and I turned on the music, and they said, "Who did you just talk to? What did you just do?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just did it." But the reason I say like drinking water and stuff is because there's certain breaks at certain times, and then there's music. So if there's a break and then I have like 2 songs and I need to run out of the office to go down the hall to the bathroom, there have been times where I've like had to run because I have to get back for a break. Yeah. So it's more like in timing that and just being aware of that, because like if I know there's like 3 songs and I have to look at because on a radio log, it gives you the time of everything. Yeah. So I would have to like be like, okay, the song is 3 minutes. The song is 4 minutes. The song is 2. Okay, I have 9 minutes. Can I make it there and back? Because the bathroom, at least at my station, was like you had to go out of the studios, out of the office, out of the entire area, and then down a hallway. So it's not like you can just pop out. So I guess it affects you in that way. I don't know. I could see the seltzer thing being an issue.
I was thinking about that because I'm like, if you eat fries and fried chicken and seltzer, like you're gonna be burping and shit. Yeah. And you can't do that.
Well,
if you gotta
also,
be on a
I will say, I will say there have been times where I this will probably fit in with that then. Okay. I had like hot Cheetos or something like as a snack. I was like, I don't really want like because I usually won't do like a full meal if I'm doing a show. Okay. Like I'll just like take snacks or drink water and then I'll eat after. I don't know why. I think it's just more of like a focus thing, but I'll like have a snack. And so I had like hot Cheetos, and then I had a break coming up and my mouth was like on fire and I was like chugging water. And I still could tell that I sounded like at least to me, probably no one noticed it, but I sounded like a little weird because my tongue was so I probably was saying something like, Danielle, so things like that. Like it's almost like when they say, the other thing when I first started doing more regular professional radio, I would have like a yogurt for lunch, and then I would go to do my thing. And I learned from some people at that radio station that that's not the best thing to do for your voice beforehand. Because if you ever notice when you eat yogurt, it like coats your throat in a weird way. Yeah, it does. Not in the way that like a throat coat tea would or something, like not in like a honey way. It kind of like has like a film over your throat. So when you're speaking, you're not going to get the full clarity of your voice. It's going to kind of sound a little the enunciation as we do in radio. Or you're just the tone is gonna be different. Like it's just not gonna be as clear or as crisp. So there's certain things I feel like, and I don't know if that's just me or things that I've been taught, I could be saying this in radio. People are listening like, that's not true. Like she doesn't know what she's talking about. Personally, for me, I've been told these things and I've learned these things. I try to stick with water and coffee, which is just basically like water, coffee, and wine is just like my, major things that more coffee than anything else. But so I think it just affects you in different ways. And you learn to, not chug water when you have 30 seconds left of a song and you're like, exactly. I have to talk in 30 seconds.
Because then you're going to be stuck there talking for, God knows how long.
Yeah. And then if you have to like pee really badly, you're going to rush through the break. And then it's just like, it's going to sound like I have to pee. And so it's like, well, what do I do? And you can't pee there because it's a lot of expensive equipment, Chris. You just can't.
You can't just go on the floor, right?
It's really frustrating.
Although maybe they should start inventing something that's attached to the seat, but then nobody would ever get breaks. I don't know. That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. Don't put that out in the universe.
No. Because then some idiot's going to hear it and be like, somebody's going to hear it.
Hey, sharks. I have an idea for you.
It's like, hi, sharks.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, I want a 50% stake in this. So no, productivity will go up. Bathroom breaks will go down.
Oh
Only
God.
you can prevent bathroom break. Honestly,
Oh
we should
God.
capitalize on this now that
We
I'm talking about it. I
should.
don't know if you should put this in the podcast. I feel like someone's going to steal this idea.
Probably, yeah. Just to have Robert be like, I love it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like,
But then Lori will be like, oh my God, this would kill in Bed Bath &
it's like,
Beyond.
so as you know, QVC, like she has to mention that
Oh
every
my God, yeah. I'm
like,
sorry, but the Scrub Daddy though, the
that was
Scrub Daddy
insane. I know.
he is a zaddy. That's what he is.
That was insane. When I
I
first
know.
got that, I was like, there's no way this freaking bullshit works. And then I bought it and I was like, oh my God. I was
This
like,
freaking bullshit works.
yeah, I was like,
Yes.
this is insane. I see why this sold so much. Oh
Yes.
God. All right. So and I bet you thought there were no food related radio
I know. I'm
questions.
very
Look at
impressed.
that.
That was like,
Yeah.
look at
That
that
was
prep and that.
borderline a stretch, but you know what? I was like, I think that would make sense.
It worked. It worked.
So, all right, let's before we come to the I don't want to say the decline because that has a negative connotation. The resolution, as they taught us in English class, or the what do they call it? The falling action.
Ooh.
I
Wow.
told you, creative writing. So if you could have
Throwback.
one, I've started asking this question to a few of my guests who also have shows. My last guest hosts a live Instagram show called Mike Tales. He just had on from Chopped. Oh my God. Manit Churan, the Indian, the chef from Chopped. She's like the Indian
Oh,
chef
yeah,
restaurant.
yeah.
He just had her on his Instagram live and made cocktails with her and drank with her and like interviewed her for an hour.
That is so cool.
Blown away completely. Anyway, so I had him on and a few other people that do shows. And my thing was like, if you could have one person on your show, yours would be Back to Basic, dead or alive.
Yeah.
All right. Anytime in history, dead or alive, one guest, who would it be? And even if it was somebody who's alive now, like what time period in their life, like obviously you wouldn't want to interview maybe like, you wouldn't want to interview like necessarily, let's say Britney Spears, like now, maybe you'd want to interview her in like 99, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, or maybe not, I don't know, but, ooh, shit. All right. Sorry.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
That's all right.
Oh God. I feel like my mind, like without me really putting much thought into it, and I'm not trying to say that in a way of me like just blowing off your question, just
Right.
like someone who popped into my head.
No, like your first instinct. Yeah.
I would say like a Marilyn Monroe.
Ooh. Okay.
Because I feel like she, first of all, iconic.
Yeah.
Ooh, a Marilyn Monroe or like a Princess Di, like a Princess
Ooh,
Diana.
okay.
Because I feel like they were two very, obviously, very infamous, iconic women. They were both very heavily scrutinized in the media. They were judged for almost everything they did.
Right.
And both, unfortunately, and like met tragic ends.
Yeah.
And
early in their lives too.
And I think that there would be like a lot of power in speaking to them, especially say it was like now, like 2020, like speaking to them now, because they were dealing with so much pressure then, like, and I feel like we could learn a lot from them, and also learn a lot, going back to what you were saying before about like kindness and how to treat people,
right,
and how to not judge people. Like, don't judge Marilyn Monroe by her, how she looks, because, she was actually like such a brilliant person. And so like, I think that I really love the idea of speaking to people that were unfairly judged and like, like iconic because of it, but it's like, it kind of going back to basics.
Yeah.
But like finding out who they really are, like who was Princess Diana? Like we didn't really get a chance to know, like who was Marilyn Monroe? Like, there's so many stories where we hear like about them, but I feel like talking to them and being like, so how did you really feel when they're saying this about you? And like the entire world thinks that you're, ruining the relationship of, a president's family and like whatever else it was, I feel like those would be like my, first instinct. If I had to like really think about it, I'm sure I'd come up with like 50 people. Like I'd probably want to interview every single member of NSYNC if I'm being honest, but
yeah, exactly.
Those would be like my like,
okay.
I wake up in the morning, ooh, Norma Jean, let's chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is as good as an answer as I could get for a question like that. Is awesome. So
thanks.
Right. So as we start to come to a close, I do this with all my guests. All right.
Okay.
We were in chemistry class together. You remember grade school pretty well. In grade school, shout out to Mr. Reynolds, by the way.
Oh yes.
Fucking
oh my
man.
God.
He's still friends with him on social media. I've seen him a couple times after high school. He's the man. Anyway,
I loved his class.
Yeah, he's amazing. So grade school. Big game from the time you're in middle school up until God knows when. Fuck, marry, kill, right? I do this with all of my guests, but fuck, marry, kill with food. So one dish that you would just have like a dirty one night stand with, and then just be okay with not having it for a while and probably feel horrible in the morning. A dish that you would want for the rest of your life, every evening, no matter what, and a dish that you could just never, that you would just do without for the rest of your life, like never have it again.
Okay.
So,
which one do you want me to do first?
I don't care. I do fuck first.
Okay. If I'm being honest, it would probably have to be some sort of like very big ice cream sundae dessert. And here's why.
Nobody's done dessert yet. Okay. That's good.
But here's why. Because I stick to a mostly like non-dairy diet. And it would just be amazing just to have like one of those giant, like you see on Instagram, like the giant ice cream sundaes
from
with
like black tap.
Yeah, like with just everything on it. And like, I know it's bad for me. Like I know it's going to suck, but like so good. And then I'd be okay with being like, okay, now I can do non-dairy ice cream forever. Because honestly, there's good alternatives now. So it's not like I'm missing too much, but that would be like that one. So I would fuck like a giant ice cream sundae.
Okay. I'm going to take that sound bit, what you just said, by the way, and just play it.
Please do.
I would fuck a giant sundae. All right. That's going to be the sound bit.
Quote Danielle Costa.
Just ruin your radio career. All right.
Or help it. That could totally help it.
Or help it. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Mary, something that you could eat every night or at least once a day for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, doesn't matter.
Ooh, okay. God.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be dinner. You just went dessert. Nobody's done dessert yet, so you can go wherever you want. This could be a snack. Well, I don't care.
I do have a snack that I would eat every single day.
Yeah.
And there has been a period of time where I probably did.
Okay.
And then I stopped because it's not the best thing to do. But I mentioned it before. Hot Cheetos.
Oh hell yeah! It's funny you mentioned that. I have a coworker of mine posted this on Facebook last night, and I ranted about it. And she gave me some today. Flamin' Hot Cheetos came out with popcorn.
Yes, it is so good.
She gave me some of her bag today in a Ziploc, and I'm gonna try it for the first time. And
it's good.
Excited.
You should post that on your Instagram because it's good.
I don't have the bag. I see it looks sketchy in like a Ziploc a little bit. So
you're like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, people will be like, did she make it at home? Like, no. But yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that. We love Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
I never used to, and then one day I tried them, and I was like, this is the best thing.
They're amazing. They are insane.
Best thing ever, and I don't do it a lot because I know it's like not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But there's just something about it that it's just like you could polish off one of those giant bags so easily,
so quickly,
so easily. And I love. I don't know, this is gonna make me sound crazy, but I love when it's like the first one hits your tongue and it's like super spicy, and then you just keep going because if you stop, the spice is going to be too much. So you have to keep going. And it's just like,
numbs you out. Yeah.
Yes. And that's how you finish an entire bag. And you're like, oh, so I would marry Hot Cheetos.
There you go. Another side. Yeah. And all right.
So that one's very on brand. So
that is. Yeah. Very on brand. The last one is just you could just live without it for the rest of your life. It could be something that you tried once, something that you have eaten a lot, but now you just hate anything.
I can give you one I've never had and I will never have.
That's fine.
It's kind of a food group, I guess.
Okay.
Fish.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even sushi.
If I eat sushi, I love sushi, but I love like vegetarian sushi, like avocado, cucumber, sweet potato.
Okay.
Have
you had California rolls? Because California rolls, all right, so California rolls, you can order those because it's not real crab. It's called imitation crab. So it's not, this is going to sound gross, but it's not. They take composite of like other pieces of fish, basically. Imagine it like a hot dog. Hot dogs are basically just shit. I'm sorry, but like they are.
I mean, I only eat kosher hot dogs.
Okay. Well, this gets me. Not everyone's
because
as
they're
bougie
beef.
as you.
They're beef.
Yeah, I know. Not everyone's as bougie as you, but hot dogs.
My boyfriend's Jewish. Okay. I eat half kosher.
That's good. But like hot dogs are just like composite stuff. So this imitation crab they use is like a bunch of other kinds of fish, but it doesn't taste like fish. It's more of a texture. So when you're feeling daring, when you've got a thing of soy sauce, try a California roll. And what you're going to notice is that it's a different texture, almost like tofu, but it doesn't have that fishy smell that people hate. You know what I mean? So
maybe I'll try that one time.
Look, eat
like,
one piece. You don't like it, you can call me an asshole. I'll never try it again. So,
yeah, I'll literally like text you like, Chris, I can't believe you did this.
Pop one in your mouth, be like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, right.
Make me do that.
I mean, I've had tuna in the past,
Yeah.
like tuna salad, whatever.
Well, like, no, have you had like tuna fish or like real tuna? Like,
tuna fish, like, cause it was like probably when I was younger. But I've never had any, and I stopped really eating tuna. I joke that I live by the Nemo diet of life, like fish are friends, not food.
Okay.
So
you're the opposite of what is it? Not Presbyterian. What is it?
Like a pescatarian. Pescatarian. Yeah. I mean, kind of. So like when growing up, like my sister hated fish, and she is I think still allergic to a lot of shellfish.
Okay.
So I think it started probably as me just being like, I want to be like my older sister, and like, ew, fish is gross. And then it just turned into like, oh no, like I really just don't want to eat fish, and I just don't like the smell. Like my brother-in-law used to work for a fish place, and like so he would always it would be that fishy smell that you're just like, oh my god, please just like leave me alone. Like don't come near me.
Well, it's funny enough too, because like real good fresh fish does not have that's the problem, is it does not have a fishy smell. Like if you were ever gonna just be like, fuck it, I'll try one. If you're at a sushi place, not a piece of sushi, it's sashimi, it's just straight fish, but it's a very specific type of tuna. A lot of places sometimes don't even have it. Okay. It goes for about $80 to $120 a pound.
Wow.
As you know, tunas that come out of the ocean are like 800 pounds.
Yeah.
The very specific, they're more like cows, like steak at that point. There's a very specific part of the abdomen, kind of like the belly, that's called toro, Toro. Okay.
Okay.
A little piece of sashimi will run you about $7. It does not taste like tuna. It tastes like butter almost. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It does not smell like fish.
Okay.
If it's good Toro. And that will help if you ever want to be adventurous. You don't have to, because you can say fuck fish, whatever. But that, if you're going to do it, go with the best quality. Because like I said, good fresh fish does not smell fishy. Like these restaurants, like, La Bernadette and places in the city that are famous for being seafood restaurants.
Yeah.
They get these styrofoam containers of fish that came out of the ocean a day or two before. They smell like nothing but salt water. That's what fresh fish is supposed to taste like. And they have guys whose specific jobs are to completely butcher a fish, much like they do a huge pig or a cow, to where they get the exact like meat, just the meat, no extra bones, no film, nothing. They spend hours trimming this fish up. So if you're ever going to try and venture, I would suggest go bougie and do it right, because it might introduce you, because we're used to like tuna fish in a can, which I reluctantly eat, but it's not like something I would voluntarily choose, especially. And if something is fishy, like the smell, like you said, I can't do it. Like it just completely turns me off.
I can't do it. I mean, Chicken of the Sea, like Jessica Simpson throwback, like I've done that. I just still can't. And I think I also probably somewhere in like my childhood trauma, like digging deep back into my, brain, when you go to like the grocery stores and they have like the fish on the ice and you see the fish face, I think I just got traumatized by it and I just couldn't do it. I mean, I still eat meat, but I rarely eat meat. I'm not like a huge meat person, and I don't really eat like pork.
Okay.
Which is not just because my boyfriend is kosher. It just happened to work out that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it just happened to work out that way. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe one day I'll do it. I think that it's also just been something that's like ingrained in my head so much that it's kind of like I see it and I'm like, I can't really do it.
So I got to ask, is your boyfriend, and this may seem weird, but is he like Jewish or is he like Jew-ish? Like, or is
he's Jewish.
Okay.
He's Jewish. He keeps kosher.
Okay. So have you had matzo ball soup yet?
Yes, of course.
Fan?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah.
That's something that an Italian household you'll never have. We don't grow up with it, obviously.
No.
Or like, I mean, there are Italian Jews. That was mean. But like,
no, but I know what you mean.
Okay. Like, that's like something that I even mentioned to somebody once, and they were like, what? But so. Okay.
No, well, actually, my grandmother loves buying matzah, like the crackers, like the actual matzah.
We used to have those in my house, just like the actual crackers themselves.
Yeah, she loves that. Like whenever Passover comes around and it's like in the supermarkets all the time, like she loves matzah. Like, so I did grow up eating matzah.
Okay.
Because she loved that. But yeah, matzo ball soup is amazing. And like he's obviously turned me on to other things. Like I've had like other food with his family.
Right.
But yeah, he keeps kosher. So it just kind of works out because one of his friends once did ask, like, she's Italian and you're kosher. Like, how do you do that? Like food
Yeah.
wise. And he literally was like, she's like, she's kosher not on purpose. Like she is kosher without trying to be kosher. And they're
Okay.
like, what do you mean? And he's like, she doesn't eat pork, she doesn't eat shellfish, like she does eat primarily like, you know, not as much regular meat.
Right.
I mean, when you're kosher, I don't know if you know, you can eat meat. It's
Yes,
just
I do.
like
It needs to be,
certain
yeah, it needs to be
types.
certain, yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't really eat a lot of red meat. If I go out, a lot of times I'll choose like more of a vegetarian option.
Right.
So like it's really funny because he'll just be like, she's like involuntarily kosher. So it
Hey,
just
you know
kind of
what?
works out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I mean, it's one time in college, I tried to be a vegetarian. And then I got home and my grandmother force fed me pork. So it was like, she was like, no, you have to eat this. And it was like, it was the kind of pork, I'm sure you know, like the pork that tastes like chicken, and it was just
yeah.
like buttery. Like,
Yeah.
so I was kind of like, okay, fine. And occasionally I'll dabble in that if she makes it, because it's one of
Right.
those things that you're like, okay, it's amazing. You
I think
can't not.
a lot of the stuff that we grew up with too, it's not like pork chops, right? The pork chops, as I've gotten more into food and learning more about it and reading more about it and in just researching, a lot of stuff that we grew up with is not the proper way to eat these things. Like
Yep.
pork chops, I don't know if you know this, like pork chops, what color, like the boneless pork chops, what color are those in the store when you get them? It looks like a piece of chicken, right? They're like beige. Pork is not supposed to be beige, okay? Real pork chops, good quality fresh pork chops have a bone, and if they don't have a bone, they were cut off a bone directly, not a freaking loin that sat there for God knows how long, and they are pink or red. That is what real pork chops are supposed to taste like. If you cook them properly too, they do not taste like pork. It tastes like a whole other thing that you hadn't had. Now, granted,
Interesting.
the plain white pork chops, which we have all the time because my wife, she makes this like cherry pepper pork dish that is just insane. But anyway, that kind of pork may be more nutritious as far as like not having as much fat, but the fat in the other pork chops on the bone, that's kind of what gives it the flavor, you know? I mean, that's why you ever, fuck is it called? Kobe beef. You ever had Kobe?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kobe beef is so expensive because unlike a regular steak where you get this huge streak of just fat, Kobe beef, these cows are kept in their own private stalls. They are given massages. They are, I've heard rumors that they're even pleasured. Are you
serious?
Yeah, they are given beer. They live a very good life and they are pampered. And what happens with that is that a piece of Kobe steak or beef or patty looks like a piece of granite or marble, meaning the fat is completely evenly distributed throughout the entire meat. And it's not these huge slabs of fat, which is also why a pound of it can cost you $1,300. So it's
cool. Okay. So
I'm sorry. Oh my God. I've been saying Kobe. Wagyu beef. I've been meaning Wagyu. Sorry.
Okay.
Wagyu is what I mean. Wagyu beef cows like that. That's why that stuff like that is so expensive. The problem is we are so used to things like where you would eat a piece of fish or pork and it would just be fucking like some horrible ShopRite grocery brand. And you were just like, this is disgusting. You know? So like, much like you, we've definitely cut down a lot on meat. And I think the reason is not just because it's, you know, there are some health benefits if you eat less red meat, but also if you source it a little bit better and you care about the quality, we've kind of tried to focus more on that, you know, where it's like all of our produce dishes, like we try to get as much fresh produce as we can, you know, and it's just, it does matter what you put in your body, you know, like I used to never buy fresh carrots. I just thought they looked cool with the freaking stems. But like every time, unless I'm like making a salad that I need shredded carrots for, I usually get the organic bunches of carrots because it just sometimes they don't need to be those like crunchy, crazy, hard ones that have been stored. They're almost like a little bit softer, but they have a better flavor. And it's like I've noticed as I've gotten older that what you put in your body actually matters. And I think that's part of also why you just choose not to eat some things. Cause it's like, you know, you don't want to go out of your way to source a fucking $20 thing of pork just to be okay with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, that's like so interesting too, because obviously, like I just said, like kosher meat is more expensive because it has to do with the way that the animal is killed and it has to do with being blessed. So it is also better quality. So like if I'm with him, I can taste a difference in the meat. You know what I mean? Like And so if I cook with him, we obviously would buy like kosher chicken or whatever, but it's just, you can taste the difference. Or like, do you know like Ben's Deli?
Yeah.
Okay. So like love them. If you go and you get like a turkey sandwich, the
Right.
turkey is so fresh and it's so good. And it's like weird. Like I feel like you wouldn't realize it, but you taste a difference in the
Yeah.
quality of it.
Absolutely.
And it's like better than if you just go, like you said, like to, Stop and Shop, and you go to their like little deli aisle and you just pick up a thing of like Oscar Mayer turkey. Like
Yeah,
you taste the
exactly.
difference.
Right.
Like I really can't do like packaged turkey because I can taste that it's
Right.
packaged, which
Like
is like weird.
any
But
yeah, any turkey that we've gotten, even if it has been from a deli, I always get it sliced on the spot.
yeah.
I stopped getting like pre-packaged, like
Oh yeah.
mass-produced prepackaged turkey. We stopped getting that years ago. Like every deli meat or anything that we've gotten, I go to the counter, right? And I'm like, slice me a pound of that. And you point in the counter to the fucking huge chunk that you want.
Yep.
You see it as a whole and you could tell what it is. And you're
Yeah.
like, I want sliced fresh that, not
Yeah.
the stuff that's been sitting with preserves inside of the shrink wrap for God knows how many months.
Yeah.
So
There's a difference.
there is a difference. Yeah. And like, it's just people, I don't know. Some people don't care and that's fine.
Yeah. And that's
But
fine.
like,
You do you.
I've said this before, like my cousin is a huge, like nutrition person. He's a
Mhm.
fitness guy. He does social media. He does like YouTube videos and like Wing Chun, like all that stuff. And he told me years ago when I was talking to him about like eating better and stuff, he was like, I said this on a previous podcast too. He was like, just look at like the ingredients on something. He was like, if something has more than like 3 ingredients or 4 ingredients, don't eat it. And if it has anything you can't pronounce or you don't recognize,
Yeah.
don't eat it. Like you wouldn't think about this, right? But like a can of beans, right? If you look at the ingredients on a can of beans, there are 2 or 3 ingredients. There's beans, water, salt. That is
Yep.
it. Beans, as much as they may, clear a room, they are actually pretty freaking nutritious and you can get a lot of protein from them.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm sounding like a vegan right now, but I don't care. And
Hey, it's true.
not that I hate vegans, but whatever. Anyway, but it's just, I think, anyway, wrapping it all up, I think it's as we've gotten older, and as a society in general, I think people are starting to care a little bit more about where something is coming from and what's going in your body because it turns into you. You
Yeah.
eat it and it like I get that everyone's, sorry to be gross for a minute, I know everybody craps things out, but like you don't realize that nutrition and proteins and stuff stay in your body.
Yeah.
And so if it's going to go through your blood, you should probably, and your stomach and your digestive system, you should probably
Yeah.
care about what goes in your body.
100%.
As
Looking
much
at
as
labels, dude.
I
Yeah.
know, seriously. And as preachy as that was, which I didn't mean for, sorry.
No, I mean, it's true. Like I've started looking at labels more too, honestly, because I started dating my boyfriend, because certain things have hidden dairy and certain things have hidden. So like there are certain labels on things that say like dairy or kosher or whatever, or you have to look, if those don't have that, you have to look in the ingredients. Cause like you said, like certain beans, you go to the very bottom and it's like, some sort of powdered milk situation. And you're like, why is there milk in my beans? But like that happens. So it's really important. And it's really taught me to do that as well.
I know. I mean, the best thing you can do, especially with beans, is, believe it or not, buy the dried ones because then you control how much water and salt goes in. That's like, that's the easiest way to do it. It's like, even if you like make your own fresh pasta, I mean, the only difference is like making fresh pasta, as I'm sure you've done, ravioli, stuff like that. It's great. But I don't know, like OG Italians use dry pasta and Italians use
all
dry
the time.
pasta. You know what I mean? Like
all the time.
Not every Italian works at Maria in the city. Like they're not going to be making fresh pasta every night. They all use dry pasta.
That takes time.
Right,
that takes time.
Right.
No, but like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree. Like my grandmother, that amazing lasagna, like that you would think came from a 5-star restaurant. Like it's dried pasta.
Yeah,
like it's
dried pasta noodles. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And like with the dried pasta and then the store-bought ragout and like, that's how we say it. Ragout.
Ragout, yeah.
Ricotta cheese.
Yeah.
The mozzarella. Any of those fun cheeses. Mozzarella. Mozzarella, pasta fagioli, forget about it.
I sometimes forget that I have an accent. My godmother lives in Colorado.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's Jewish, ironically, living in a place that has giant crosses on the hills. So good for her. But yeah, she when I go out to visit her, she's always just like, God, you sound like such a New Yorker. And I'm like, I don't hear it, but then
we don't hear it.
It comes out sometimes, especially now when I'm driving home from work in the Bronx and I'm yelling at people. I listen to myself.
It comes out.
I'm like, is this an episode of freaking Sopranos? Which just happened? I was like,
yeah.
God, like,
oh, it comes out sometimes. And it specifically comes out when I say certain, like if I'm saying like, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee. Like, I'm like, who am I?
Yeah, what is coffee?
Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what's like people like when because my radio station's in Connecticut, so sometimes in the beginning they would like make fun of me because I would be like, oh
I
yeah,
know.
I'm gonna go get some water, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Water? I'm like,
Water. Yeah, water.
not water. I'm not gonna go drink a glass of water. I'm
Water.
gonna
You want water? It's like, what's
no,
water?
I'm gonna get water. Like
Yeah,
it's just it is what it is. We make it work.
I know. So, all right. Well, Miss Danielle Costa, thank you
Yes, sir.
so much. Take the last little bit. The floor is yours. You can plug the podcast Back to Basic, guys, every Wednesday. Plug any social media platforms you have, any shows you're on, places you work for. It's all yours. Go ahead.
Ooh, oh my God, the floor is mine. What should I do? Should I take over the podcast?
Go ahead.
It's no longer Spicy Memories with Captain Cook. Yeah, so I am Danielle. You can follow me on Instagram at Danielle Maria Costa. I post a lot of my radio stuff and everything there. I'm on Star 99.9 on the weekends. Shameless plug. You can listen to me. And then my podcast, Back to Basic Podcast, like Chris said, we get back to basic every single Wednesday, and you can hear Chris on it as well. So go listen to that. You can follow us at Back to Basic Podcast on Instagram. We are on Apple, we are on Spotify. And if you want anything else, you want the podcast, you want to hear some of my radio stuff, any other interviews, you can also check out my website, daniellemariacosta.com.
And guys, I will put all of that in the description in Spotify. When I post it on social media platforms, it'll be in that. Danielle, thank you again so much. I'm going to stop the recording in a minute.
Thank
guys,
you.
This has been episode 11. Episode 12, we'll have a great guest. Don't know who it is yet, but I promise you won't regret it. Maybe. Can't promise anything. That's how life is. Guys, stay classy. Danielle, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Chris.
And we will see you next time.